This podcast is brought to you from our friends at TenCate Protective Fabrics, Emergency Networking, MagneGrip, and IFSTA.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Backstep. This is Ronnie K. In northern New York, not too far north, just north of the Bronx. Up in Westchester County, New York. And you can see we have four Hollywood Squares today instead of two. But I'll go right to my partner, Tommy. Tommy A., what's going on out west there, pal?
It's snow up in the North Country. So we're supposed to get down to 20 degrees tonight. I'm bringing the brass monkey in off the front porch, and life is good.
Perfect. The brass monkey, huh? Yeah, it's weird. It was weird here yesterday. I was in South Jersey yesterday. It was 85 degrees in Toms River, New Jersey.
Wow.
Come out of teaching about 3:00. It's a hot summer day. People are wearing shorts. They're going in the pool. And today it's 45 and raining. So we had our Indian summer is gone now, and bingo, here we are. We're heading into winter. So it is what it is.
Hey,
welcome everybody up.
I hope you don't mind me jumping in on top of our two great guests coming. But I also wanted to mention the passing of John McGrath, former Deputy Commissioner of Philadelphia Fire Department and Chief of the Raleigh Fire Department. Ron, you had the honor of attending the services, and how did things go?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I had a note to talk about John. For those of you on the cast. John was our Memorial Weekend Incident Commander with the Fallen Firefighters Foundation for about 15 years. And we got to all of us on this screen got to work very closely with John. And so last Friday in Philadelphia, we gave him a final send-off. It was well attended. Philly came out, Raleigh came out, a lot of friends and family. And again, I had the honor to speak at the reception after the interment. And it was very surreal. I will tell you that. It was just a very surreal moment. You know, John was a bigger than life character, so to speak. You know, he just was. He was bigger than life. When he walked in the room, it was always buzzing and just when he had command presence in our command center, he had command presence. There was no doubt. You knew who was in charge of the room. You didn't have to ask whatever it was. So we got a chance to bid him a fond farewell and at the tender age of 70, cancer took him like it's taken so many of our brothers and sisters in the fire service. And it should give all of us more push and more commitment to having our younger people pay attention and say, this cancer thing is real, you know, and we need to take care of it. So I'm glad you brought it up, Tommy. But John will be missed. He has a big family. It was ironic. A couple of his brothers. It looked like his mom had like triplets. There were two more McGraths walking around. I mean, they looked like him, they talked like him, but all his sons, his grandkids. It was as sad as it was uplifting to see his family coming together like that, and they're kind of a tight knit bunch. So with that, Tommy, thank you, and we'll ask everybody watching to just keep John McGrath and his family in your thoughts and prayers. He was a great firefighter, a great chief. A great guy to be with, and did a lot of work for the Fallen Firefighters Foundation, and really was a fireman's fireman, so to speak. So with that, as you can see, folks, we have two guest stars today. Right out of Central Casting. and on my screen, he's in the upper right corner. I don't know where he is on your screen, but Victor Stagnaro is the new Chief Executive Officer of the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. Upon the retirement of Ron Kanterman, Victor has taken the reins, and his slot got vacated as the Managing Director. And Gary Krichbaum on my lower left is now the Managing Director. He was with the FRCE for a while, doing programs. And I have the distinct honor, Tommy and I have the distinct honor to work with these two gentlemen for the Memorial Weekend. We work on them throughout the year, so we're not just together on that weekend, but work all year round together as a team to bring that Memorial Weekend to as good as it can get. So welcome, guys. We're glad you're here. We're honored to have you with us tonight, and we're going to get to the nitty-gritty right away. So we're going to ask you some questions, and just it's kind of informal. Keep your shirts on, all right? We don't go bare chested on this show. But it is informal. But so I'm going to start with you, Victor. Give us a little history, a little background on your fire service career, and how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, Ron and Tom. Thanks for mentioning John McGrath. He truly was a leader among leaders. And those of us who've had the opportunity to work with him, we know we're better people having worked under him and been connected with him. So, our thoughts and prayers go to his family, and we will remember him for as long as we live, because he's that kind of guy. So thanks for mentioning that. My fire service career started off as a volunteer member in Montgomery County, Maryland, in Silver Spring, just outside of Washington, D.C., right on the border. And one night during a big snowstorm, the firehouse was getting renovated, and the firehouse is now a restaurant. So it's been redone across the street from where it was at the time. But all the bantering going back and forth in the bunk room, and the bunk room was actually the day room, because everything that was being worked on as the firehouse was being rehabbed. And I thought, if I could do this and get a paycheck too, I think that'd be the best thing that could ever possibly happen to me. So I started applying, and I got hired in Prince George's County, did 25 years there, retired as a deputy, and just, like most of us who've been able to wear a uniform, just glad to be able to have done it, and proud to have been able to do it. And I'm honored to be able to serve in the capacity I'm in now.
How'd you get locked in with the foundation, and how long ago was that? Like, was that in the middle of your career, or?
Yeah. So 1998, I was either 97 or 98. Ron Sarnicki and I were at a trade show, and we ran into Hal Bruno, who was the chair of the board at the time. And he said, I want to bring the incident command system to the memorial. Can Prince George's County do that? Can we bring people over? Ron turned to me and said, can you find somebody to do it? I was Ron's executive officer at the time. And I thought, man, that sounds like a pretty neat opportunity. Don't know much about the foundation, so I volunteered myself. And that's how I got started, doing what you do. But I'll tell you, back then, and you remember because you were part of it, there were about, 5 or 6 groups of folks we had teams, essentially like engine companies and truck companies, and we would deploy them throughout the campus. And then when something was needed, we'd run them out there, and nothing like what you're doing today. So that
was no radios, and no cell phones. So right. You give us an assignment. It's just so everybody knows, Victor perched himself up on the 3rd floor of Building K, overlooking the monument and the field. So we come up for an assignment. He said, all right, you 2 guys go do this. So we'd go across the campus, do it, come all up, 30 flights up. What do you got for us next? Well, now go here. 3 flights down. I walked it 1 week, and I showed up weighing 290. I went home at 225. I'm telling you, man.
It was a great command post, though. You had the view of the entire site. Yep. It was really nice. Yep. But yeah, for all you guys that had to do all the work, you had to run those steps every single time.
And there was about a dozen of us that did all of that work. And now today we have a team of about 30. So it's a little easier, but it's a little more managed. And we come a long way with that too. And we'll talk about that.
Long way. Yeah.
I'm going to switch over to Gary. Gary, why don't you give us a little background on your fire service career and kind of how you got here today?
Sure. And thanks for having me on. Always good to be with you and Tommy and in the Backstep Nation, as I like to refer to them.
Backstep Nation. All right.
So, similar path as Victor. Started as a volunteer, 1989, and was hired also and worked in Prince George's County, Maryland, where I was. That's where I had the fortunate opportunity to get to know both Victor and Ron. I got hired in 1994. 1996, I joined our honor guard, which honestly was one of those life-changing moments. And that's, again, how I got to know Victor. Victor was in charge of our honor guard, and Sarnicki was a big supporter of us. So we got to do a lot of cool stuff. We got to go to a lot of cool places. to represent Prince George's County. And, I did 26 years there. I retired as an assistant chief. Last couple of years, I worked for the First Responder Center for Excellence, FRCE, as the program manager, overseeing the health and wellness programs, trying to prevent injuries, illnesses, and line of duty deaths, and all of public safety, reaching out to the law enforcement community, EMS community, and been a long time supporter of the Memorial Weekend. I think my first Memorial Weekend, it was part of the Honor Guard, 98-ish. And it was, again, one of those life-changing moments where I stepped on campus and knew this is what I had to be involved in for my whole life. Just knew it. And, fortunately, this position came open, and, they were kind enough to take a chance on me, and here I am.
Seconds count when responding to an emergency. Minutes saved count when documenting your day. Emergency Networking makes records management easier and faster with its Fire and EMS solution. User-friendly, complete online and offline functionality, highly customizable, all at an affordable price. For more information, please visit emergencynetworking.com.
Good. Well, I know, and I guess for the record, for those watching also, when Chief McGrath finished out his time with the foundation as the incident commander for the weekend, I was his deputy IC. Before that, I was operations for 13 years. So he stepped aside in 2017, and in 2018, I became the incident commander for the weekend. And I tapped Gary Krichbaum on the shoulder. I said, I need a number 2. And so we've been working together for 6 years doing that. And then this coming May of 2024 will be my last and my 25th Memorial Weekend. Since that chilly October weekend in 1998, 25 quick years went by, and I'm going to step aside, and Gary's going to elevate to IC, and we're excited about that too. So good to have both of you guys on, and we're glad you're with us. Thank you for your background. Tommy, I bet you got a burning question that's just digging a hole in your neck right now, right?
Hey, Ron, let me just add to
Victor,
go ahead. There must be a delay for that guy in New Mexico.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, our philosophy in Prince George's County when Ron and I were there, when Ron was chief and I was the executive officer on the Honor Guard, is they're just like a specialty team. When you don't want to use them, but when you need them to be sharp. And that was kind of the way we went. So we did have a really sharp Honor Guard that, they were doing competitions, and when it was on, they were able to perform. So, Gary was part of that team, and, a lot of ripple effects from those guys and the unity that they had. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. And I think, it's just, you could see that in our Honor Guards when they come to the Memorial Weekend, and how meaningful it is for the families.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So, Victor, can you tell me how things, in your eyes, how things have changed since the time you were riding an engine up until about now?
There's that saying, it's 100 years of tradition unhampered by progress, but that is not true at all. It is not.
I agree.
I agree. The technology that's being used, the gear, the equipment, the computerized ways in which people are, getting alerted and being told where to go to scenes. And I think too, even then, there was a lot of demand on a company officer. But today, the demands on that company officer are so much greater. And you think about the knowledge that they need to have. Battery powered cars, and that back then it was, hazmat was the big thing. And, but it's just dramatically changed in the demands of a fire officer and a firefighter compared to what it is today. So, I mean, in some ways, I think about, I got done firefighting just in time because I'm not sure I could handle it all. But it's pretty dramatic changes. I'm kind of giving you a 30,000 foot view of it, but that's kind of my take on it is just the equipment, the apparatus, the technology, the demands on the knowledge of a fire officer and a firefighter is unmatched compared to any time in our history, I think.
IFSTA is dedicated to updating firefighting techniques and safety through the creation of our manuals, apps, curriculum, Resource One, and more. Our high-quality, technically accurate, and affordable training and education materials have made us a worldwide leader of the fire service. Visit us at ifsta.org for more information.
Gary, I know you and Ron have had this conversation before of what do you guys think was the most technological advancement in the time that you've been on the job? And I know the answer from Gary, but if you'd share that with everybody else, I found it kind of fascinating.
I'm trying to remember our conversation, Tommy. What was my answer?
Both came up. You both came up with the answer: self-contained breathing apparatus.
Yeah, that's what I recall too. Yeah, you think of the advanced.
Yeah, and really over the years, you look at the technology, and not only the technology, you look at the education that we received also with the breathing apparatus. And I'm sure all three of you remember the days of cheater mask, and if you even wore a mask, and they were heavy, they were small, they were pick an excuse why people didn't want to use them. But you look at the integrated technology into it now with the pass alarms. There's more GPS that's being added to these packs. So it's better for the incident commanders. But I think more so, like I said, it's the education that we know we need to use them. It's not a symbol of weakness or a validation of how tough you are. But look how much further we can go in. Look how much longer we can last, and look how much healthier we are. So,
and I'll ask the question to both of you of how do you think the foundation has influenced change in the American fire service?
Well, I'll start off. I mean, if you go back to 2004 when the first Tampa meeting was held, all the fire service organizations got together, and actually back in those right around 2004, 2005, I wrote an article for Fire Engineering about that Tampa summit where the 16 firefighter life safety initiatives were developed. And they weren't developed by the foundation. They were developed as a consensus by the fire service organizations. And I think that was a turning point in the sense that it really focused on firefighter safety in a way that we had not focused on it before. And I think that's been a huge influence on the American fire service over the last 2 decades. You look at every organization has really put their stamp of approval on the fact that the best operational fire departments are the ones that operate very safely, and it's just proven time in and time out, and that's proven in every industry. So that I think that's probably one of the biggest monumental changes the foundation has made over the last 20 plus years.
Yeah, and totally agree with that, Victor. I think one of the greatest things so far that the foundation has been able to do is make the word safe not a dirty 4-letter word. And prior to the foundation, a lot of their programs, I think we were a riskier fire department based on what we've learned over the past years, and I think the foundation has been able to take the consequences of those riskier actions and bring those to the forefront. So again, it's about educating and making good decisions, whether it's tactical or your health or whatever it is. So, I think they had a huge impact on on the way that we're operating today and how we're going to operate in the future.
You know, I remember when the Tampa summit was being developed and we were going to go to Florida, and I remember the reaction to Tampa. You know, Ronnie Sonecki was going to invite 200 people, and 300 people showed up. If you remember that, I was there, and all of a sudden we're dealing with the hotel. Hey, can you put 15 more tables in the ballroom? And we got to feed more people. The people just showed up. I mean, without even saying they were coming. So the reaction was great, and we had done 5 or 6 sessions at national conferences. I remember being in Baltimore, and we just put a poster outside the room. We're going to talk about injury and line of duty death prevention on behalf of the foundation. Everyone's welcome. You know, it doesn't matter where you come from, who you are, you know, all walks of life, volunteer, career, military, we didn't care, man, woman, child, come on in. And I remember just facilitating those meetings, and then we put that all together, and then we had Tampa, and it was well received. And I asked Ronnie, I said, what do you think the chances are that we're going to be successful? And he said, well, you have to understand something. The foundation, we're Switzerland. We're not management. We're not union. We're not volunteer. We're not career. We're everything. We take care of everybody. So we don't have to take sides here, whether it's right or wrong, in or out, big or small. We're going to try to do this from a neutral plane. And it was successful, in Ron's time, and we'll talk about Ron's time, but that's what he was thinking at the time, is like, you know, who can argue with us? We're the Fallen Firefighters Foundation, you know, and it turned out to prove itself out. So, and one of the things was the logo. You know, it was the firefighter shield with the black band across and the red circle and the slash, you know, no more shields with black bands kind of thing. And he said, this is going to be the brand. He said, this is going to be our Mickey Mouse. You know, you picture a circle with 2 little circles, you automatically think Disney, right? He said this, and it is. That logo and sticker is everywhere. It's everywhere. So it proved itself out, and we were able to deliver that program across the country pretty well, and we still are. We still are, because firefighters retire, move on, get new kids in. They got to hear the religion too. Most fire academies have built in that 4-hour lecture in their Firefighter 1 curriculum, their Proby curriculum. So it's kind of working pretty well. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit, and I'm going to ask you gentlemen about the foundation itself. You know, from the time you started, you were in 98, Gary. You were also around 98, 99 with the Honor Guard. How do you think that the foundation has changed, you know, from the time you started as a Memorial Weekend volunteer? How have you seen the foundation morph into what it was to what it is now? Vic?
Like a trusted turnout jacket you've had for years, Flex 7 outer shell fabric delivers a perfectly broken-in feel on the very first wear. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of Enforce technology, Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatafabrics.com/flex7. Flex 7, powered by Enforce technology, only from TenCate Protective Fabrics.
Yeah, well, those early days, and you'll remember, Ron, it was 4 or 5 people that worked for the foundation. It was genuinely a mom and pop shop. You look at Prince William County, Prince George's, Montgomery. There were a handful of fire departments that were supporting the Memorial Weekend, and that was it. You know, it was we did all the family programs were on campus, and of course, the security issues weren't as great in the 90s as they came after 9/11. So it was easier to get the families on campus, that kind of thing. But it's just exploded. You know, we are an organization of about 30 people. We have 2 foundations now: the First Responder Center for Excellence and the NFFF. The focus on the line of duty death prevention piece. The memorial itself has been rebuilt. It's it used to just be those plaques that are on the ground, and then a second round of plaques. Now there's that wall that we've added. So we're good for another 20 or so years. Hopefully we'll have a year. Maybe someday we'll have a year of no line of duty deaths, but we know that's very unlikely. And the criteria has changed. I think, foundation was fundamental in changing the PSOB regulations for heart attacks and strokes. We were honoring them, those firefighters that died from strokes and heart attacks before PSOB recognized it. So that's another big change that has come. And now with cancers and suicide, there's some daunting tasks ahead of us. But it's been pretty dramatic over the last 20 plus years. The footprint, we're a small organization, but we have a big footprint, and that's something that really something that Ron has brought, and he should be proud of, and we all are.
Yeah, I agree. Gary, did you want to add anything to how things have morphed, what you've seen?
Yeah, just starting back in '98, I remember the very first ceremony, the pomp and circumstance, and just how overwhelming that was. The fire service comes together and does that, and then having the opportunity to be part of the command staff starting in 2006, seeing how the team operates behind the scenes. Again, mind blowing experience. The people that we have that come from all parts of the country to help put that ceremony on they're just beyond reproach. I mean, they're just a fantastic group of individuals coming together. But the one thing that really stood out to me over the years is the amount of effort that goes into taking care of the families and the family programs that and the services that's provided for the weekend. It really, a lot of people don't even know that goes on, but to see that expand, what started as just a peer-to-peer, connection into, incident commander to incident commander, company officer to company officer, and being able to see how they have adjusted over the years to meet the needs of those affected by the line of duty deaths. It's truly remarkable, and they do a fantastic job. And a lot of times with little recognition, I'll say.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with MagneGrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit MagneGrip.com.
Yeah, and you know what? To add to that, what both of you said, a lot of folks don't know that the foundation's cranking all year round. There are programs going on, taking care of our own is going on, and they have family stuff, and there's survivor conferences and the burn camps and all this other stuff going on, all year round. So it's not just the Memorial Weekend. For those who are looking in on our podcast tonight, it's not just the Memorial. The foundation is cranking all year round, doing all kinds of stuff because we took a vow. We took a vow to take care of our families, of our fallen. So there's a lot of stuff going on all the time. There really is. Tom?
Vic, I had to ask the question, and I go back to thinking the first time I met Chief Sarnecki was when he was running for treasurer of the IAFC. And just kind of following his career, the guy's a superstar. What was it like trying to follow in those footsteps?
Well, there's a guy by the name of Ron Blackwell who became chief in Prince George's County right after Ron departed to come to the foundation. And his swearing-in ceremony was actually scheduled for 9/11 on the day, and it ended up getting canceled. But he said he got a call from his mom, and his mom told him, "You don't have to be the best chief Prince George's County ever had. You just have to be the best chief Ron Blackwell can be." And that's been my approach as I take on the role. There's only one Ron Sarnecki. He went from the days of he could get with 4 hours of sleep and he would just keep on going. And there's never going to be another one like him. So it's challenging, and I recognize too the fact that he's been the face of the organization for over 2 decades. So when they say, here's Victor Stagnaro, the CEO for the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation, they're like, who's that guy? And that's perfectly fine. I've been behind the scenes for a long time, and I like that role. So it's getting used to just being able to be out front and for the sake of the families, for the sake of the mission, not for my sake. So it's daunting, but it's that's kind of my approach. Just be the best I can be.
I at FDIC this year, Dave Rhodes, he stepped into the role because Bobby Halton died suddenly, as we all know. And Dave said something really profound on that stage. He hit it out of the park as far as I'm concerned. But one of the things he said was, people were saying to me, how are you going to fill Bobby's shoes? How are you going to fill Bobby's shoes? And he said in his speech, I don't have to fill Bobby's shoes. Bobby had his own shoes, and he walked and traveled to this spot. And I'm wearing my shoes, and I'm walking and traveling to this spot. Yeah. And I thought he hit it out of the park with that.
Absolutely. Oh, my gosh. He hit. In fact, I was listening to that speech saying, I'm taking notes. He did a fantastic job. And I was feeling the same way he was feeling. In fact,
because no matter what, you're not that guy. Whoever you are, you're like when Brunacini retired, like, who's going to be the chief in Phoenix? And you know what? They appointed a chief in Phoenix, and he did a great job. And then he left, and someone else took the job. And not that we forget what Brunacini did or what Sonicki did. We don't forget that, but it's a new person, and it's time to move on and all that stuff. But I think Dave just hit it out of the park. I got my own shoes. He did. I don't want to wear his shoes.
He came to Stop, Drop, Rock and Roll that Thursday, and we shook hands, and we had met previously, but. He looked at me right in the eyes. He says, I guess we're going to be rookies together. So that was that. Yeah. What a good guy. Yeah. He totally nailed it.
Yeah. He's a sharp dude. I met Dave years ago when he was in Atlanta, I think he was the president of the local in Atlanta. I don't know if you guys remember, they had a big rescue. There was a guy up in a crane on a construction site, and they flew one of their rescue guys in a harness. And he plucked the guy off the crane, and then the helicopter plucked him down into a parking lot across the street. Kid's name was Matt Mosley. Don't ask me how I remember that. But Dave was the union president. Matt was the hero of the moment, and they used that rescue to their advantage. And Dave went to City Hall, and he says, I've been telling you, we need turnout gear, our rigs, we could see through the floor of the rigs and blah, blah, blah. And the whole city of Atlanta was freaking out with that rescue. I mean, it was unbelievable. And he went on TV and he asked for support from the people in Atlanta. We're going to go ask for stuff that we've needed for a long time. Can you please come to City Hall and help us rally? And 50,000 people showed up in City Hall and got behind Dave Rhodes, and they got everything. They got parity pay with the cops, which they were trying to get. They got apparatus. They got breathing app. That one rescue, but Dave was the mind behind that whole thing, man. And he's like I was saying, we're expecting good stuff from him. We're already getting it. So but that remark about the shoes, I remember that distinctly. So yeah, you're your own guy, and you do it your way, and that's just the way it is. So I'm going to ask you guys, what's your motivation? To take on the foundation and to perpetuate the foundation from the time you started, like to now. Like there's something there that says this is good, or this is meaningful, or this is what, it's righteous, or it's God's work, or whatever it is going through. So what motivates you? I'm going to jump to Gary first, if I may. So Gary, what's had you coming back for 25 years? What is
so, we talk a lot about commitment. We talk a lot about dedication, to the fire service. Most times when I'm on campus, I visit the memorial. I at least walk by. And I try to read one name. And what I remind myself two things every time I'm on campus and when I'm dealing with the foundation, is that's not just a name, that's a person. And behind that person are some real people that were affected by that tragedy. And I feel that I owe it to that person to do what I can to help their families, their friends, their colleagues, move in a positive direction. I'm not going to say move on, because that's not a good terminology, but to do what I can. And the other thing, Ron, is I am in awe of those folks that are on that wall they're willing to risk everything to help somebody else. Like that's not an inspiration right there. But I try to remind myself that each and every time. And then, I always try to ask a question when I'm making decisions, or whether it's Memorial Weekend or now in my new role, is what would I want for my family? And, those are the things I really feel that the fire service and just society, we owe it to those folks to do what we can to take care of their loved ones. So as corny as it sounds, that is my motivation.
Well, you know what? I it's not corny. I mean, not for guys that like us that have been in the middle of this thing for so long. It's not corny. That's from the heart. And if the firefighters who are watching this don't get it, come to the Memorial Weekend and you'll get it.
And I use that terminology a lot. You either get it or you don't. And when people say, "Well, why do you do that?" And those are the inspiring things that keep me going and keep wanting to do a good job. But it's just in me, right? It's in you. It's in Tommy. It's in Vic. That is just, you look at the guys that are guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. When you ask them, when it boils down, it's in them. That's what they're supposed to do. So you either get it or you don't.
Jimmy McLaughlin, one of our honor guard commanders of the past, at one point, he's a funny dude. He made up these little pins, and there was a black pin with a red IT, and he handed me one, and I said, "What is this?" He says, "You get it. It was an it pin." And he gave people it pins. He says, "You're one of the guys that get it," and he handed out it pins awesome to people who got it. And I said, "Wow, this is like simple, but it made sense to me."
Yeah.
Victor, what's had you coming back for 25 years?
Well, similar to Gary, when that first Memorial Weekend and seeing the families receive the flag, have their loved one honored, you get it. You're just one of those things that, you just want to keep coming back and supporting that. And then, even more recently, just when I'm with the families, it's remotivating. I just recently had the opportunity to be at the men's retreat in Charlotte. Charlotte Fire Department and Pineville, neighboring fire department, who had experienced a line of duty death recently, were instrumental in just rolling out the red carpet for our families. And it's just humbling to see what they do and how they support. And then to be with the men who've lost their sons, their dads, their brothers, and see that connection be made, and having that peer support from one another and the bonding that occurs. I stood up in front of them on the last day when I had to leave and said, you motivate me. They're thanking us. They're thanking the foundation. And this is a reflection too. And I'll say that, Ron and Tom and Gary, during the Memorial Weekend and, all the accolades the foundation gets, that's a reflection of the work that all of you and the honor guards and everybody that comes to the Memorial Weekend. But when I stood in front of those men, this is what motivates me to try to get there and do what more we can do to support those families. It's humbling to be able to do it. And like Gary, when I'm on campus, almost always stop at the memorial. I might take up that habit that Gary has and read a name. I usually go back through of the people that I know, and I read those names and I try to reflect on, their sacrifice and what their families went through. And that's been striking me even harder now in this role. Every time I hear about a line of duty death, I'm thinking about that family is now going through their worst moment, and that department is going. We've known that at the department level, right? We've known that, and some of us have experienced that. But to think of every time, there's a knock on the door, it's motivating to do what we can to honor the fallen, serve the families and coworkers, and try to prevent. So I don't have a problem getting up every morning doing what I do. And I'll end with it. There's a great I've said it a lot. Harry Truman said, "There's 100 men that can do this job better than me, but it's mine to do." And that's the way I feel every day.
I think we all kind of visit the monument when we can. My thing, when all the years I went to campus to teach for the NFA or whatever, my first stop was always there, no matter what. Put my stuff in my room, take a walk over to the memorial, visit the guys who I knew, like you did, But for a long time, and I did it again in May when we were there. When I have my private moment, but out loud, I have to say it, and I say to them, "We haven't forgotten you. You are not forgotten." I say it all the time. You are not forgotten. We remember, and we will continue to remember. So everybody has their own little way of
A question for the both of you is, what do you guys see as some of the major issues that the fire service is facing right now, and what impact does the foundation have on those issues?
Gary, why don't you go first? Since I just stopped talking.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Tommy, I really think dealing with the health and wellness primarily for the last 2 years, I really think that we've only seen the tip of the iceberg when it comes to mental health. I think some of our numbers are not truly represented, not because of lack of effort, just because there's so many variables to it. Information is only as good as the data that comes in. But you look at a lot of studies just on the American society, and there's over half, almost 60% of people are seeking some type of mental health treatment. So the fire service is not immune to it. Again, these are individuals just doing a job, so they're part of that statistic. What is compounded on it is, I think we've done a tremendous job of creating awareness for mental health. And we've done a very good job of beating the drum message of, if you think you need help, go get help, go get help. Unfortunately, the help is very scarce. So we've overloaded the system just to get in to see somebody, much less somebody that knows about first responders, which is a different ballgame, when it comes to mental health. And then, compounding on that, a lot of insurances haven't caught up to our message of, getting help early. So again, referencing the study that I was looking at from the National Council for Mental Well-Being, I think it was. But, a high percentage of their survey respondents said that was a top barrier, was the lack of insurance coverage or the very little insurance coverage for mental health. So again, the fire service is not immune to it, especially you look at some of the smaller departments, across the nation. They're just not able to provide that service. They don't have an EAP. They don't have a referral system. I know coming from the FRCE, that was one of the things that we're going to look at in 2024 is bring some experts from the insurance world together for a roundtable to see how can we better support the first responders, both physically and mentally, through insurances. So I think that's going to be a significant issue. And then, without going too in depth, but sleep has really been studied in the last couple of years. And my goodness, what a contribution to everything that we talk about. So I think that's going to play a big part into it and be very difficult, obviously, for first responders because we suck at sleep. So, and there's not a good answer for it. So I think we're going to struggle with that, but that's what I got.
Yeah, good points, Gary. And on the sleep piece, I think we've also often just thought, well, that's just the way it is. The fact that I don't sleep well, it's, just common in the fire service and so in any potential industry where you're on shift work or working long hours. So yeah, I think that's going to be a very significant. We've had the opportunity the last couple of years to work really close with the U.S. Fire Administration on the Summit for Fire Prevention and Control, and that's probably the area that this One Voice group is focusing on some of the major issues in the fire service. So it boils down to codes and standards. I think there's a lot of issues there. The state of North Carolina, if I remember right, they passed a law that you can't change the fire codes for 10 years. And we've not caught up to their needs for fire codes when it comes to lithium ion batteries and other things, issues related to the fact that some jurisdictions are plucking the sprinkler requirements out of the code without understanding that when the code is made, assuming there's going to be sprinklers, the house is actually, there's other things that are done so that a home is built to that standard. When you take out the sprinkler, it's actually now more dangerous for firefighters than it was prior to sprinkler legislation being in there. So that's putting our firefighters at risk. It's as others have said, it's a 100-year problem, because once that house is built, that's going to be some major issues for the fire service. Recruitment and retention, wildfire, cancer, as Gary was pointing out, cancer, cardiac, the three major leading causes for firefighters that we honor the last couple of years have been cancer, cardiac, and COVID, the 3 C's. So, and there's a lot of research that needs to be done on this long COVID thing. Denise Smith is doing some work, hoping to get some studies in. The number of heart attacks is increasing from what we've previously seen, and there may be a relation to COVID with that. So there's a lot of daunting issues for the fire service. But I'll also add, I don't think there's a better time to be a firefighter. There's a lot of studies being done. We are having a recruitment and retention issue, but there are millions of firefighters that are doing just fine. That are, look at you guys, a couple of retired fire guys that are still having a good time and still, relishing life every day. So, we need to get that message out too.
Sounds good. We could spend days on the issues, but I think you guys touched all the top issues. Talked about the code before. The thing I've been preaching for a long time is when a contractor is looking for trade-offs. I'll sprinkler this building, but I'm going to put 1-hour walls in instead of 2-hour walls. Okay, that all goes away when the sprinkler valve gets shut. Now you have a substandard building, whether it's people living in it or people working in it. Okay, once we do the trade-offs and everybody said, yeah, okay, fire official, building official says, okay, sprinklers in lieu of a 2-hour wall, you got it. Shut the valve, all bets are off. So, those are the things that have kind of been bothering me for a long time. That when I have a chance to teach in whatever venue I'm in, we talk about stuff like that. Like be careful, don't get bit. So let's kind of switch back to foundation again, and maybe start to enlighten us on what initiatives, projects, what's coming down the pike, and that kind of stuff. What should we be keeping an eye out for? So. We'll start with the boss.
Okay, yeah, I'll go first this time. Yeah, Gary's going to punt it. No, it's we really need to continue to be relevant. We talked about some of the issues that the fire service is facing for over 20 years. The foundation has been in the forefront of trying to lead a change and make it safer for our firefighters. So that's going to continue. I really want to focus really strongly on the way we're supporting our families. I'd like to do some true research on, the research on grief. I think there's a lot of benefit internationally for that kind of research, we've got a pool of folks who can teach us how to be better at it, and what kinds of programs and things can assist those families. So I just want to be better at what we do. And it's not to say that we haven't done great. We have. We've done really well under Ron Sarnicki's leadership. But I think, I really want to dig deeper into those areas to see how we can better support our families. And, there's some daunting tasks, the prevention piece. And Ron, you mentioned it. Thanks for teaching that kind of component. I think our fire service needs to know it as much as the public. And when we're looking at legislation that's probably not going to pass this year, but it probably will pass in future years on firefighter cancers. When PSRB changes their regulations, we will adopt those changes and honor those firefighters automatically. We're already honoring firefighters that die of cancer, but it's got to come from the state. The state has to have some sort of paperwork. When it goes federal, I think it's going to open up a lot of firefighters that we will be honoring, rightfully so, and families that we'll be serving. And then the suicide. Now that PSOB has changed the regulations for firefighter suicide, and in some cases, those families will get the death benefit. We need to educate our firefighters and our fire service how to deal with the issue of suicide in a lot more meaningful way.
Yeah, and just so to switch gears a little bit from the family, so not to be redundant, but I'm very excited about our educational programs that are coming out within the next year or so. The focus more on leadership, which I am very excited because I really worry about how to associate the great information that we're getting from the research world into actual items that we can implement to reduce the line of duty deaths, injuries, and illnesses. We talk about the up and coming generation. I don't like to say younger generation because that has a negative stigma to it. But I think there's a slight disconnect between the generation that's the officers now, because the information is so new, not really implementing and showing the next generation on the changes. So we have the information there. I don't think it's being completely utilized that the next generation has the opportunity to learn from that, because our job is, no matter how many classes you take, it's an on the job learning process. Very excited. I know they scheduled a couple staff rides. So the foundation had a staff ride this past year down in Nashville. Very successful. They have 3 more planned for next year and a half. There's other leadership classes, leadership management conference, critical decision making under stress. So it's bringing that information to this next generation. So when they're in charge, they have the opportunity to use that information. And then, just to touch a little bit more on FRCE, focusing on the health and wellness of women. And then 2024, we're looking at doing another health and wellness symposium. So a lot of good stuff coming up from the foundation and the FRCE, and just excited to be part of it.
And if I may, real quick, Ron, if you're not familiar with staff rides, it started off under Napoleon, as far as I can remember, or what I'm told. And so they would go to a battlefield and they'd have stands, and they would stop and they would discuss what went well, what the decision making was. The first staff ride I did was with the Forest Service, because the military picked it up, and then the Forest Service has been doing it for quite some time. And you find yourself making the same decisions that were made the day of the fatalities. And it's really amazing to be part of that process, because when you read a NIOSH report or other reports, it's a very linear, study of that line of duty death. But here you are, you're facing the pressures that those crews were facing at the time, and you find yourself making the same decisions. So the staff rides are we're really good, and we're commemorating our Captain Jeff Bowen who died in Nashville about 11 years ago in that first structural staff ride that we're doing. It's very meaningful and getting a lot of good feedback.
Yeah, I'm hearing really good things about it too. You know, Gary, you alluded to the leadership and all the programs that the foundation is doing. And I know Eric Hagman is kind of our coordinator, and he's kind of keeping things on an even keel for everybody. I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago. You guys were at the Rock at the New York City Fire Academy on Randall's Island for a couple of days, and I went to the 12 o'clock high class. And I got to tell you something. That was one of the most outstanding things I've ever seen. I didn't go as a student or to teach. I went as an observer to see. I was curious, you know. And for you folks out there in TV land, the foundation borrowed something from West Point, because I asked John Tippett, John, how'd you come up with this? And he says, you know, the fire service motto, we steal with pride. He says we got it from West Point, and we actually watched the entire movie, 12 O'Clock High. It was made in 1946. It was about the Army Air Corps and the bombers who were going in to drop their bombs, and they had a bad unit, and they bring a new general in to fix it. It's Gregory Peck, actually, a very young Gregory Peck, I might add. And I remember seeing that movie a long time ago, and then what I told everybody else, like no one in the room knew, it became a television show in the 60s. 12 O'Clock High was a TV show from 64 to 67. And Robert Lansing actually took over the role that Gregory Peck had in the movie. And I didn't miss that show ever as a kid. But so we watched the movie. It's about 2 hours. But before the movie, your staff, gives each table a character to follow and to record their leadership styles. And then after the movie, we talk about all those leadership styles. It was phenomenal. I'm telling you guys, if you haven't seen it, it's out of the park. And for those of you watching, if you want that leadership class brought to your fire department, contact John Tippett at the foundation. He's in charge of fire programs, and have the foundation come to you. It's a one-day gig. It's not even a whole day. They do a couple of different leadership things. They did LAC in the morning, and then this led us up into lunchtime. We actually ate lunch while we started watching the movie, and it was out of the park, man. So there's some great programs. The time during 2019 into 2020, I was doing some contract work for the foundation, and one of my jobs was to update all of the static type programs. Everyone goes home, everything with slides. I must have updated 4 million slides, right? But we did, and now they do for update again, and that's what the team is working on. So the programs of the foundation never get stale, they never go out of style, and they're all good. So there's some self-taught things. You can go on and do some stuff yourself. You just got to open an account. It's free. It's out there for you. It's free training, man. So just take advantage of that. But the 12 O'Clock High, out of the park, man. It was a grand slam. It was very, very cool. Very, very cool.
We'll make sure we tell John that.
Yeah, do that.
I've got the roll call if you're ready.
You know what? We got one more question for the guys, and it's a quick one. And we're going to go to Tommy. Does our roll call at every show. But anything on both of you guys, quick. Does anything keep you up at night about the foundation or like what's going on? We already say we suck at sleep. We know that. But are they other than the usual? I got to do this tomorrow. But really big issues that keep you up at night now that you guys are in charge and running the whole kit and caboodle, like they say. So I'll let either one of you jump in.
Boss, I'll take this one. So it used to be. It touched on it, how to get the information that we have and make it usable for the fire service. But with this position, I tell you what keeps me up at night. Don't screw this up. There is a lot of folks relying on us doing a good job, and there's no room for error, no room for failure at all. So that's what keeps me up at night. Don't screw this.
It's the old NASA saying, right? Failure is not an option.
That is so true. That is so true. Yeah. When I hear that question, I'm always reminded it was there's an Army general. They were asked, what keeps him up at night. He says, I sleep really good at night. It's my job to keep my enemy up at night. But we don't, for that. Yeah, it's daunting. It's as I look forward to the responsibility of the job. If I think about it too much, it can be a little crushing. But the nice thing is, the decisions I make and the decisions Gary and I make, they're not life and death situations like when we were in the fire service. So we have time to think it through. But it's, I really want to look long term. How are we going to sustain what the organization needs for the sake of the families and the fire service long term? And that's kind of my focus right now, and trying to live the day to day and get the day to day done. But how can we position ourselves so we're in good shape 10, 15, 20 years from now?
Great. So Tommy, I'm going to turn it over to you. Would you kind of do the roll for us, please?
Yeah, the last time we were on was September 18th. And since then, we've suffered 9 line-of-duty deaths. Troy Thompson from Seven Springs, North Carolina, made the supreme sacrifice on October 4th, passed away from an unknown medical while working a vehicle accident. Earl Dyer from Richmond, Virginia, died on October 5th, unknown medical at the fire station. Adam Hart from Herbert Field, Florida, on October 5th, also an unknown medical at the station. Timmy T.J. Johnson from Warren, Pennsylvania, passed on October 17th, suffered a heart attack after responding to a call. Cameron Craig from Abingdon, Virginia, passed on October 19th, died from injuries sustained in an apparatus crash. Rodney Pitts III from Baltimore, Maryland, made the sacrifice on October 19th while operating at a structure fire in the city of Baltimore. Colin Reedy from Exton, Pennsylvania, passed on October 20th, suffered injuries from a vehicle accident in his private vehicle while responding to a call. Anthony Tony Hoffman from Iona, Iowa, died on October 22nd. The Polaris ATV that he was operating crashed into a piece of fire apparatus, and he sustained injuries and passed from that on October 22nd. And lastly, for this show, Dylan Ronaldo, also from Baltimore, Maryland, passed away on October 25th from injuries sustained that also took the life of Rodney Pitts and he died from his injuries on October 25th. And as Ron and I always ask, keep the families and the departed in your thoughts and prayers, and there will be answers coming out as to actually what occurred at some of these incidents, and we need to heed the lessons so we're not repeating them over and over. With that, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you guys coming on. It's great to see both of you. And Ron, that's all I got.
All right, yeah. Let me double up the thanks to Victor and Gary. We all know each other a long time already, and we work together. And I think we're a hell of a team. I'm going to say that because I can. Right? It's our show. We can say anything we want, right? But we appreciate you guys giving up some time. We know how busy you are, and we know how important your mission is because we're kind of part and parcel to your mission. We get it. But thanks for getting on the Backstep with us tonight, and we appreciate everything you're doing for the foundation. We're looking forward to add more No Sleep. We're looking for big things and big accomplishments from you guys. So there's another reason to stay up at night. Peer pressure, right?
No sleep for me tonight.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So everybody, Ron and Tom, I'm all for that. And thanks for honoring the fallen the way you do.
Yeah, with 10-4, it's our honor to do it. So until we're up on the Backstep again, everybody, be safe, slow down, buckle up, eat right, eat light, stop for red, use your head. Watch how you drive, arrive alive, hug your wife, hug your kids, hug them tight when you say goodnight, don't forget. So we'll be on the Backstep again soon. And any second, our producer, Mark Howe, is going to take us out with some really wicked music. Mark, it's all yours, buddy.
Seconds count when responding to an emergency. Minutes save count when documenting your day. Emergency networking makes records management easier and faster with its fire and EMS solution. User-friendly, complete online and offline functionality, highly customizable, all at an affordable price. For more information, please visit emergencynetworking.com.
IFSTA is dedicated to updating firefighting techniques and safety through the creation of our manuals, apps, curriculum, Resource One, and more. Our high-quality, technically accurate, and affordable training and education materials have made us a worldwide leader of the fire service. Visit us at ifsta.org for more information.
Like a trusted turnout jacket you've had for years, Flex 7 outer shell fabric delivers a perfectly broken-in feel on the very first wear. Flexible, comfortable, and powered with the strength of enforced technology, Flex 7 outer shell fabric is made to move. To learn more, visit tencatafabrics.com/flex7. Flex 7, powered by enforced technology, only from TenCate Protective Fabrics.
Breathing in diesel exhaust fumes is like walking into a fire without a mask. Over time, those toxins lead to cancer. Protect yourself with MagneGrip, the easiest, most reliable exhaust removal system that features a true 100% seal to eliminate diesel exhaust fumes. To get free grant assistance, visit MagneGrip.com